Hi and welcome back. So in this video we're simply going to write the app.py file that is going to execute the menu. So let's go to our app, delete all of this here, not import that, and say menu equals menu. We will have to import our menu, and remember that the menu does not take anything in the init method, so we don't have to give it anything. And then simply say menu.run menu. Now when we press play, we get asked to enter our author name. So I'm going to put my name in, and notice how it says welcome back Jose, because it already checks the database and realizes that I already exist in there. Then I can read some blogs, and then it prints out the blogs. These two blogs have the same title, which is unfortunate. I'm not sure which one I'm going to pick, but then we copy the ID and paste it in here, and then we get the post printed out. Then the program finishes, so we have to press play again. So that may not be ideal. And then if I enter Rolf, then it asks me to register. So I enter blog title. I'm going to say awesome blog and enter blog description. Just type something here. And then it asks me whether I want to read or write blogs. So in this case, I want to write. So I type capital W. And it asks me to enter the post title, my post, my content, and the post date, so 10/03/2014, and then it finishes. If we go back in and type Rolf, it says welcome back Rolf. So now we can read and we can type our own ID and see what happens. And then we've got my post, my content. So this is how that would work, and now there's obvious improvements that we can do to ensure that the menu runs over and over again until we press something that isn't read or write. We could do that, and that would be fairly simple. Or we could improve the way to select a blog. Instead of having to copy and paste the ID, we could do something different, like use a title or have a shorter ID. The date could be displayed a bit better, especially if there is no times. I'm not really interested if it was created at midnight. So there are a lot of improvements we can do, but the purpose of this section was not to be stopped by those things, and instead focus on the other things, which is creating a reasonably complex app which uses MongoDB, which uses datetime, which uses object-oriented programming, and to introduce static and class methods. So actually, I would recommend really trying to understand this section very well, because it introduces a lot of the concepts that we're going to be using throughout the course. So if you do have any questions, please go and ask in the Slack group, ask me directly, and I will be more than glad to help you explain it again, recommend more reading materials or things like that. So please do attempt that, and also attempt the challenges in the next couple of lectures. They will also be beneficial for your learning. Okay, so hopefully you enjoy this section, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. So I'll see you there. Hi and welcome back to the course. In this video we're going to be looking at a couple more methods from the post class. It's going to be a really quick video. The first method I want to create is to create a from Mongo method. And what this method will do is it will allow us to say post.from Mongo, give it an ID, and it will give us back the Mongo data that we get from the database. So this is also going to be a static method, as we looked at in the last video. And what this does is it says data is database.find1 from posts, and I'm going to say collection equals posts. And remember, this collection equals is completely optional. You don't have to write it in there if you don't want. I like to write it in there, and I will start doing so from now, essentially, just to help us continue to get acquainted with Python and do things not the right way, because there is no single right way, but slightly better, slightly more readable, just good practices overall. So the collection is posts, and what we are finding is a post that has the ID, and this is called the query. And what this will do is it'll find one post that has this ID that we passed the method as a parameter. So now we'll be able to do something like post dot from Mongo 123, and what that'll do is it'll give us the post that has ID 123. And then instead of data equals, we're going to say return, and we're going to return this data here. Similarly, we can also return all of the posts belonging to a specific blog. From blog ID, and then we'll return database.find posts query equals blog ID, ID is ID, and this would be collection equals. So the ID that we give it, we will use there, and then the collection we're looking for is in posts. This will find all of the posts that live in a specific blog ID. But do notice that this is not going to return a list of posts, it is going to return a PyMongo cursor. So what I want to do is say post for post in here. And now this will return a list of the posts. Okay, so these are two quick methods that will let us get a post from MongoDB and also get all the posts belonging to a specific blog. In the next couple of videos, we're going to be creating the blog class, and finally we're going to be able to put data into our blog. So I'll see you in the very next video. Hi and welcome back. Let's take a quick look at how we can set a default value for the date to be today's date. So what we want to do is, of course, say date equals today. And in order to do that, we are going to need to use the datetime module. And this datetime module, what it says is, it says call the module and then call the datetime class and say UTC now. And basically a datetime is an object, just like the post object, that contains some properties, which are the year, month, day, hour, minute, and second, and as well as the time zone and a couple other things as well. So this UTC now method, what it does is it creates a datetime object that has the time and date right now, and then we assign that to the date, and that will be the default date for a post that we create. So if we decide not to pass the constructor or the init method a date, then we can simply use today's date. So what I mean with that is, as an example here, we would say post equals post, and then blog ID equals 123, title equals a title, content equals some content, author equals, say, and then we could leave it as that. We've got blog ID, title, content, and author, blog ID, title, content, and author. The date would be today's date, and the ID would be none. If we want to assign an ID, we could do that, although it's not recommended because they are generated automatically. If we want to assign a date, we could do that. Datetime UTC now would be today, and we can do more things to subtract days from a date and make it yesterday, for example. So this is how we would use that default value, and what we're going to be doing is now moving on to the blog and seeing how we can indeed create these posts and put them in blogs and then display the blogs themselves. So I'll see you in the next video. Okay, and welcome back. So let's write the run menu method. Remember, if the user decides they want to read, we're going to list the blogs in the database, allow the user to pick one of these blogs, and then display that blog's posts. If they want to write, we're going to prompt them to write a post. So first of all, let's do the writing because it's shorter. So we're going to do here self.prompt write post, then define that method, prompt write post. And what we'll do is self.userblog.new post. And in doing this, notice how PyCharm did not give us an autocomplete. That is because up here we did not manage to create an object of type blog. Instead we found data, but we didn't create an object. So what we'll do here is, instead of self-userblog equals blog, where blog is some data that comes from the database, we'll say equals blog.fromMongo blog ID. So now we have an object of type blog assigned to user blog in here, and an object of type blog assigned to user blog in here. However, it is possible that user blog might still be none at some point. So PyCharm does not recognize that this is always going to be a blog object. It is unlikely that that'll happen, but who knows, maybe we would fail to create a blog or something along those lines. So now we've got an object here and an object here, which means most likely we will always have blog objects, so we can write new post here as well, which is the method that we created in the blog class. So userblog is a blog object. We can call the new post method on it, and that will prompt the user to create a new post inside that blog. And really that's everything this method has to do. So is there a need for us to create a method that will call a single method? Probably not. So we can copy that and replace it there, and then we can delete this method. It's not really necessary. Okay. Now let's list the blogs in the database, allow the user to pick one, and display the posts of that blog. So we're going to do list the blogs first, self.list blogs, and then self.view blog. These are going to be the two methods here. So list blogs is going to be fairly simple. Simply going to find all of the blogs in the database and show them to the user and allow them to pick one. So blogs is database.find in blogs everything. So this would be collection, and this would be query. And then we would simply print out all the blogs. For blog in blogs, print ID, title, author, like so. Format blog ID, blog title, blog author. So we know what this does. Simply prints out the ID, the title, and the author of the blog. The ID is going to be a long ID, which is unavoidable, unfortunately, and then the user is going to have to copy it and paste it in order to be able to look at the blog posts. That is an unfortunate thing that we could call a design flaw in our program. Okay, so this is what we'll do there. And then that's everything. Print out the blogs, and then the view blog will ask the user to tell us which blog they want to view. So we'll say view blog now is going to be blog to see is input. Enter the ID of the blog you'd like to read. And then blog will be blog from Mongo blog to see. Remember, blog to see is going to be the ID of the blog. We're going to get it from Mongo, and that's going to be our blog variable there. And then posts is going to be blog.getPosts. For post in posts, we're going to print out each of the posts. Print date, title, and then \n that. And I'm going to explain exactly what that is. Post created date, post title, post content. And let me just go into the post and check that those are correct: title, content, and created date. It sounds correct. Okay, here. So what we're going to do here is format the string with the date, a title, and the content at the end. The \n, only thing it does, puts new lines on the text. So presses enter a couple of times and make sure that the content is printed out below the title and not on the same line as the title. So that's what that does. Okay, so this should be possible to simply now go ahead and press run and see what happens. So we're gonna just do that quickly in the next video, and then we'll be pretty much done with this app. So I'll see you there. Okay, so let's have a look at the app.py file, see if we can use these methods that we just created for the blog. The first thing to do would be to import blog, and we can stop importing posts just for now. And then we're creating a new blog. We're then writing the new post, which will ask us to enter the post details and save the post to MongoDB. We'll save the blog itself to MongoDB, and then we're going to, from database, we're going to get a blog from MongoDB, and the ID of the blog is going to be blog.id. This is a blog object here. This is because the ID gets generated, so we don't really want to be looking for it in the database and then copying and all that stuff. And then what we'll do is print blog.getPosts. And indeed, the method that we wrote for the blog is get from Mongo, which is different from the post method, which was called from Mongo. So let's rename it to from Mongo, and that way both have the same sort of convention for naming. Okay, let's press play and see what happens. The first thing that it does is it asks me for a post title, which is this new post line there. So my sample title for a post. And I add post content. This is a great day. Good luck with programming. Enter post date or leave blank for today. So leave blank for today, we didn't really program anything in for that, so that won't work. But the date, month, year could work. So let's try it out and see what happens. So 10 of 05 of 2015. And then indeed here you can see that wrote the post down, and the date time that was used was 2015, 5 for the month, 10 for the day, 00 for the date, for the times, because we didn't specify a time. And indeed that seems to have worked. So this is coming from the database, which is fantastic. Let's try to put in the leave blank for today, because that is what we told the user that could happen. So if they do leave it blank, what will happen is that it'll fail. So let's go to our blog and then add something in there for the leave blank. So if date equals empty, then date is datetime.utc now, which would be the default value for the date. Remember that, however, if we do pass a date here, such as none, and then if we pass none there, then the post will fail to initialize because, or rather will be initialized with the date of none. So we want the date to be UTC now if it is blank, which is the current date. Okay, so let's try that again and see if that works. Sample post, sample content, and then I'm going to leave the date blank, and then that fails because of this. So now what it's doing is, if the date is empty, then it's setting the date to be UTC now, excellent, but then it is still trying to parse the date even though it does not need parsing. So what we'll do is else date equals that, and then date equals date. So what this does is, if the date is empty, then it sets it to be UTC now, and if it is not empty, then it sets it to be the parsed date, and then we pass that over to our initialize method. Let's play that again. And now we see that worked, and the date is indeed today's date, 20th of September. Do notice that when we do UTC now, the time also gets passed in, but that's not really a big problem. I think that is reasonable. If we are saying that we wrote this post in the past, we probably don't remember the exact time at which we wrote it, but if we are writing it today, then the time right now does make sense to include it. But anyway, that's up to you really to decide whether you want to include the date or not. If you do want to include times in the parsed string, you'll remember have to ask the user for a time as well. And you'll also have to investigate the strpTime method to see how you can parse those times as well. It's really fairly simple, so I would not worry too much about it. You can go and look it up if you are interested, and I definitely recommend that you do if you want to just learn something a bit on the side there. It's quite simple to do. Okay, so this is how we would modify the new post in order to allow for blank dates, which would default to today. And we can see that the blog methods are indeed working. So in the next video, we're going to be working on the user menu that will allow them to open up their blog and things like that. So I'll see you in the next video.